de Elemento Latino. Hoy tenemos el honor de contar con Bob Simril, candidato al Concejo Municipal de la ciudad de Portland por el Distrito 2, con una vasta experiencia en el sector privado y un fuerte compromiso con la comunidad. Bob busca aportar soluciones innovadoras a los desafíos más urgentes de la ciudad de Portland. Vamos a profundizar en su visión para la ciudad de Portland y conocer sus propuestas para abordar temas cruciales como la falta de la vivienda, la infraestructura y la seguridad pública. Bienvenido, Bob. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Nos sentimos honrados de tenerte aquí con nosotros. Vamos a preguntarte, ¿cómo planea abordar el creciente problema de la falta de vivienda en Portland y qué papel cree que debe desempeñar la ciudad de Portland en soluciones a largo plazo?
So the policies that we're working on, I think, address the problems that are facing the city right now that are significant. We've got 700,000 folks living in the city. We've got about 7,000 folks that are living on the streets, and about half of them are dealing with addiction and homelessness. So it's very tragic and it's very urgent. Now that we're making a pivot away from legalized drugs on the street, tents hopefully moving off the street, we do need to have creative solutions. We have over $100 million in the bank to solve this problem. And when I talk to folks on the street or through the community, it's very frustrating for everyone, myself included. Businesses are affected, children are affected, communities are having a negative impact with the drugs, the open drug use, the graffiti, and so forth. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm crafting policy that is kind of what I call out of the box and really starts to approach things from a different perspective. Using the resources, one of the things that I hear most common when I talk to healthcare professionals is that one of the biggest problems we have is a lack of healthcare and mental professionals in the state. And in fact, I think we're rated like 47th out of 50 in the state for healthcare providing, and we have the resources to solve the problem. In the private sector where I come from, what you do when you have a labor shortage is you increase salaries, you bring signing bonuses, you relocate, and maybe even recruit nationally to bring folks in. So if one of our biggest challenges is a lack of labor, which it is in this healthcare segment, let's go out and apply the resources we have in the county for very little investment and bring folks in to support those issues. Other things that I'm really big on is, and I'm looking at, is how might we consider working with the state, working with the county to extend a foster care type model or pilot. Right now, kids that are aging out of foster care at about 18 years old, many of them have social and emotional and mental health issues. Yes. And they become potentially the next generation of folks living on the street.
Right.
So when we look at solving the problem, I think sometimes we look at fixing the symptom. And what I want to do is work with the state for some period of time to extend the availability of that living space and the mental health care resources for that foster care community. Another thing that I look at is, or that I consider that I think is a viable solution, is looking at something very similar with maybe a single mom and kids. One of our policies is I want to get all kids off the streets. You know, the kids should not be seeing open drug use on their way to school. They should feel safe. Everyone should feel safe on public transportation as well. So one of the other options is if there are, and from some of the stats and some of the things I hear, population about 700,000 in Portland, about 10% of them are a paycheck away from living on the streets potentially or couch surfing with someone else. And I think it's imperative that we start to try to figure out kind of and get ahead of some of those problems. It's not a money problem. It's a lack of creativity, accountability, transparency, and really focus on solving these problems or these issues.
Gracias por responder esta pregunta. Y bueno, la que sigue, en su campaña enfatiza la importancia de la infraestructura. ¿Qué cambios específicos le daría prioridad para mejorar la infraestructura y los servicios públicos en Portland?
I think it's a great question. And you know, coming from the community that I lived in the projects. It has a young kid, and there wasn't a lot of infrastructure support. You know, I was outside of Compton before I moved to Grant High School or moved to Portland in the 70s. And the focus that I think, the opportunity that we have when we go to this new council, where we will have 3 members in each of the districts, is that we will be in the community on a daily basis. And a large part of that role is understanding and reaching out to the community. I'm going to take the policies that we have when we talk about potholes and roads and streets. And also when I look at, lighting and adding environmental safety features in these communities, I want to start in the underserved communities first. The communities that are typically getting that high level of service and frequency are the communities that have the most, I would say, the least need. And so I'm actually going to pivot it and put it on its head, and I want to go to, Cully and North Portland and some of these underserved communities. This district of 160,000 folks is one of the most diverse communities in the state, of course, and even in the country. It's 15% Latinos in District 2, which is North and Northeast Portland. And the African American community is about 9%. So I feel like the Hispanic community is underserved. I feel like the African American community is also underserved. Every place where we need to increase resources, what I want to do is bring investment. Everyone we'll solve the problems, the infrastructure problems, but I want to start in the areas that are most underserved and bring focus and services to those areas in those communities.
Para los que quieren aprender, para quienes quieren compartir, para aquellos que buscan informarse, para quienes creen en el arte y la cultura de nuestra gente, para los que quieren alcanzar el éxito. Para quienes aman, cuidan y hacen de Oregon su hogar. Elemento Latino cada sábado a las 11 de la mañana por Telemundo Portland.
Mi esposa sufrió un accidente muy grave. Ella estaba caminando, cruzando una calle y el señor también venía y dio vueltas sobre esa calle y fue cuando la atropelló. Pues desgraciadamente una persona, yo pienso que se descuidó y la atropelló y ella murió ahí al instante. Me di cuenta por comentarios, la señora Melissa ayudaba bien y a mí me ayudaba muy bien en mi caso. Ella trató de buscar las mejoras que podía para mí.
La nueva Toyota Tundra está lista para tu trabajo duro. Lista para jalar tu maquinaria pesada. Lista para cargar tus herramientas. Pero no todo es trabajo en la vida. La nueva Tundra también está lista para llevarte a tu siguiente aventura y llegar sin problema a esos momentos especiales. La nueva Tundra está lista para ti. ¿En dónde? En Ron Tonkin Toyota.
Impulso energético con Energy Trust.
¿Cómo mantener un hogar cálido y agradable durante la temporada de frío? Mantener encendida la calefacción en tu hogar durante el invierno puede ser muy costoso. Energy Trust, la organización que ayuda a nuestra comunidad a ahorrar en sus costos de energía, ofrece algunas soluciones sencillas para prepararte ante las bajas temperaturas. 1. Invierte en un termostato inteligente que mantenga una temperatura templada durante el día. 2. Reemplaza frecuentemente los filtros de aire de tu sistema de calefacción. 3. Sella las fugas de aire que puedan contribuir a la pérdida de calor en tu hogar. También es importante aprovechar otras opciones de calefacción, como abrir las cortinas durante el día si es que hay sol, o cubrir los pisos con tapetes para evitar la pérdida de calor. Escanea el código QR que ves en pantalla para obtener más consejos o llama al número gratis para ayuda en español.
Prepárate, el Festival de Otoño de la Iglesia Católica de San Mateo está de regreso y es más grande que nunca. Únete a nosotros para un fin de semana lleno de diversión, comida y actividades para toda la familia, desde emocionantes juegos de bingo y entretenimiento en vivo hasta la deliciosa cena alemana, rifas, así como vendedores de artesanías. Hay algo para todos. Trae a tus niños para decorar calabazas, disfrutar de los juegos y pintarse la carita, mientras tú te relajas y disfrutas de música en vivo y deliciosas golosinas locales. El Festival de Otoño en San Mateo es este 19 y 20 de octubre. Trae a tus amigos, trae a tu familia y celebra el Festival de Otoño con nosotros. Nosotros somos Innovadoras Communications Group. Nuestras ideas pueden cambiar tu negocio. Déjenos ayudarle a generar nuevos clientes. Estamos capacitados para transformar tu negocio.
Por medio de diseñar logotipos frescos y atractivos, podemos crear comerciales de radio y televisión profesionales y bilingües, gráficos, páginas web, colaterales y mucho más. Innovadoras Communications Group, transformando negocios.
Dada la diversa población en el norte y noroeste de Portland, ¿cómo planea garantizar a las comunidades minoritarias que estén representadas y apoyadas en las políticas de la ciudad?
I think that's a great question. It'll be a big priority, and I think it's a big priority for the city, especially in North and Northeast Portland that's highly diversified. And I think what I hope to do is have a seat at the table if I'm elected, when I'm elected, and I think that will expand opportunities for all. And I think when you look at the resources and the needs that we have and the representation that's required in a diverse community, we need more people of color at the table making decisions and helping to draft policy. So I will be in the communities, engaging folks and creating opportunities for folks to be a part of solving the problems in our diverse community. So I'm committed to that.
Bob, ¿cómo planea apoyar y mejorar el sistema educativo en la ciudad de Portland, especialmente en las comunidades desfavorecidas, para garantizar igualdad de oportunidades para todos los estudiantes?
Well, that's a great question. You know, Portland Public Schools runs the school system, so we don't have direct input what happens between the classroom hours, but we can increase the safety around the environment, around those communities, and we can bring in community-based organizations for after-school programs, such as STEM programs, athletic programs, and try to keep these kids. When I grew up, I was a latchkey kid, and what helped keep me out of trouble and out of gangs was athletics and playing baseball. And so I'm writing policy that will advocate for expanding opportunities, working with community-based organizations with things like STEM. It could be dance, it could be hiking and camping, it could be a wide range of services that we provide. In addition to that, I think all parents want their kids to get to and from school safely. And I think having the streets cleaned and starting to get to a point where there's no drugs on the street, and we get to a situation where we can get families and get kids to and from the school safely. And I also advocate more representation at the schools as far as safety officers and so forth, in a positive way, not necessarily policing. We don't want to police the schools. We want to create a sense of safety, especially with some of the unfortunate gun activities that are happening and shootings that are happening at schools. So everything that we can do in the city could be around the parameters of before and after school programs to create programs and safety, a safer environment for kids to get to and from school and create activities that keep them growing and learning and contributing.
Y hablando precisamente de la seguridad pública, y es una gran preocupación para muchos residentes de Portland, ¿qué medidas específicas propone para mejorar la seguridad mientras aborda también las preocupaciones sobre la reforma política y la confianza de la comunidad?
Yeah, I think the safety issue right now has really got a big impact on society and the movement. You know, I like to tell the example of what I would like to be able to do is have my daughter, who's 20, be able to take public transportation anytime, night or day. If she works downtown at midnight and she has to take the Max home, I want her to feel safe. So one of the things that I'm doing is we're engaging with the police force and the fire and safety units. I want to expand the Portland Street response. You know, folks want to have free movement around the community again. We want our kids and our communities and our businesses thriving, and especially in underserved communities where frequently the history is over-policing. I've had experiences with that. I am endorsed by the police department and by the police union, and one of the things that I've been very clear with them is that if we can get the police force and recruit to look more like the communities they serve, and we can have a narrative that supports that, we can move the trust, we can improve trust in those communities, and it's going to take time to do that. But as far as safety goes, we do need to have, once we get the drugs and the tents and the tarps and we get some of that off the street, I think the community will feel safer. So the policies that I'm crafting are around increasing effective policing with community engagement and community involvement in these areas. I think everyone wants more policing, but they want effective policing that works for them, and they don't want to be over-policed. Right. So some of the policies that I'm crafting will be working in alignment with the police department, expanding Portland street response, and trying to get broader, just representation of safety officers in the community.
No le cambie, vamos a una pequeña pausa que regresamos en unos instantes.
Para los que quieren aprender, para quienes quieren compartir, para aquellos que buscan informarse, para quienes creen en el arte y la cultura de nuestra gente, para los que quieren alcanzar el éxito. Para quienes aman, cuidan y hacen de Oregon su hogar. Elemento Latino cada sábado a las 11 de la mañana por Telemundo Portland.
Mi esposa sufrió un accidente muy grave. Ella estaba caminando, cruzando una calle y el señor también venía y dio vueltas sobre esa calle cuando la atropelló. Pues desgraciadamente una persona, yo pienso que se descuidó y la atropelló y ella murió ahí al instante. Me di cuenta por comentarios, la señora Melissa ayudaba bien y a mí me ayudaba muy bien en mi caso. Ella trató de buscar las mejoras que podía para mí.
La nueva Toyota Tundra está lista para tu trabajo duro. Lista para jalar tu maquinaria pesada. Lista para cargar tus herramientas. Pero no todo es trabajo en la vida. La nueva Tundra también está lista para llevarte a tu siguiente aventura y llegar sin problema a esos momentos especiales. La nueva Tundra está lista para ti. ¿En dónde? En Ron Tonkin Toyota.
Impulso energético con Energy Trust.
¿Cómo mantener un hogar cálido y agradable durante la temporada de frío? Mantener encendida la calefacción en tu hogar durante el invierno puede ser muy costoso. Energy Trust, la organización que ayuda a nuestra comunidad a ahorrar en sus costos de energía, ofrece algunas soluciones sencillas para prepararte ante las bajas temperaturas. 1. Invierte en un termostato inteligente que mantenga una temperatura templada durante el día. 2. Reemplaza frecuentemente los filtros de aire de tu sistema de calefacción. 3. Sella las fugas de aire que puedan contribuir a la pérdida de calor en tu hogar. También es importante aprovechar otras opciones de calefacción, como abrir las cortinas durante el día si es que hay sol, o cubrir los pisos con tapetes para evitar la pérdida de calor. Escanea el código QR que ves en pantalla para obtener más consejos o llama al número gratis para ayuda en español.
Prepárate, el Festival de Otoño de la Iglesia Católica de San Mateo está de regreso y es más grande que nunca. Únete a nosotros para un fin de semana lleno de diversión, comida y actividades para toda la familia, desde emocionantes juegos de bingo y entretenimiento en vivo hasta la deliciosa cena alemana, rifas, así como vendedores de artesanías. Hay algo para todos. Trae a tus niños para decorar calabazas, disfrutar de los juegos y pintarse la carita, mientras tú te relajas y disfrutas de música en vivo y deliciosas golosinas locales. El Festival de Otoño en San Mateo es este 19 y 20 de octubre. Trae a tus amigos, trae a tu familia y celebra el Festival de Otoño con nosotros. Nosotros somos Innovadoras Communications Group. Nuestras ideas pueden cambiar tu negocio. Déjenos ayudarle a generar nuevos clientes. Estamos capacitados para transformar tu negocio por medio de diseñar logotipos frescos y atractivos. Podemos crear comerciales de radio y televisión profesionales y bilingües, gráficos, páginas web, colaterales y mucho más. Innovadoras Communications Group, transformando negocios.
Y bueno, ya estamos de regreso, seguimos en esta conversación con Bob Simril. Estamos muy contentos de que él esté aquí con nosotros el día de hoy. Y para seguir con esta conversación, quisiéramos preguntarte, la nueva estructura del Concejo Municipal de Portland presenta tantos desafíos como oportunidades. ¿Cómo abordaría trabajar con el Consejo ampliado para garantizar una gobernanza eficiente?
Yeah, I think that is going to be a challenge. It's going to be new. The decisions will be made and be rolled out in January. We'll have 12 new council members. And I think that, one of the things that I'm going to be focusing on is setting the priorities for January through June next year. What are the things that we have to have happen before we go into the new fiscal year? So I'm really focused on how are we managing our funding? What are our priorities? What do we lean into? What are our accountabilities? How are the bureaus, the 33 bureaus, going to be more efficient so that we can get better results for our taxpayer dollars? And so we'll be focusing on a wide range of things, but I think that the key is going to be, with 12 new folks coming in and representation, 3 from each district, we're going to have to get aligned with what our priorities are. This leans heavily into my background in working, in the enterprise and solving problems at scale. A lot of folks, I think, will have different solutions or different skill sets that they'll bring, but I think we're going to have to really prioritize and measure the results and lean heavily into that. It's not going to be easy. I think that the biggest challenge we have will be culturally within the city of 7,000 folks with this new form of government. The bureaus are being consolidated. I think it's more efficient. I think the decision making will be more efficient and the structure will be more efficient. But culturally, anytime you implement change like that across a broad organization, it creates challenges. So it's going to take time, but we need to be persistent and we need to be very measured on how we organize our priorities. And especially going into the new fiscal year, which will be in July. So I think it's a great opportunity, but it is going to take time, specifically around kind of making that cultural shift with the city employees.
How do you plan to engage with the community? I would love to, as a parent, I'm worried about my kids and my grandkids.
Yeah.
How the city is going to provide not only that the kids feel safe, but also in the part of the education, we need after school programs. What are your thoughts on along those lines?
So I think that we really need to start to focus on taking care of the young kids. And one of the things that I'm big on, and I had this own experience myself, I want kids between 8 and 10 years old, 8 and 12 years old, I want to have a place for these kids to go. A lot of these kids may be coming from single parent homes, and they have no after-school activities. They have nothing to do. And I think right now we're kind of in that point where we're literally in a fight for the future of these kids and their lives. And when I was growing up, I had an opportunity to play athletics. And I was a good baseball player, so it kept me out of trouble. I had a mentor around me. I had coaches around me. I had a safe environment. And so I want to invest into community-based organizations that provide after-school programs. It could be STEM, it could be athletics, it could be hiking, whatever it is. But we're actually, I think, competing with gangs for the hearts and minds of these young kids. And I want to keep them out of incarceration and off of a bad path and give them hope and a future. And support the single moms and the families and the neighborhoods, other communities that are underserved by providing these activities so that these kids can start to have hope and have a future to lean into. So it's one of the reasons that I really am leaning into this issue, because it was a lot of my experience growing up. And I think we can do better. And I think we just need to, let's start with the younger kids, build robust programs in the communities, supporting community-based organizations and providing those resources. So I'm spending a lot of time talking with different folks in different communities. Gia is doing a great job in North Portland with after-school athletics, and he's getting great results with providing kids a safe place to go. And I want to do the same thing. And not everybody's an athlete. There could be dance, there could be music, there could be hiking, there could be biking, there could be different activities. But when kids have something exciting to do, to look forward to, it lights them up, it gives them hope, and that was really my own experience. So I think we can, we'll have policies that are crafted around that, and I want to reallocate funding so that we can get ahead of the problem. I think we are fighting for the hearts and minds and the futures, and we want these kids to have hope and optimism, right? And that's what I had. I had mentors, I had athletic programs, and I want to really lean into community-based organizations. Tamo Alvarado is doing a great project with Gia in North Portland, and these kids are coming in after school, and he's seeing great results. And the kids light up. So that's what we need to do, is create hope for these kids and support the families that are underserved, especially like a lot of the single and latchkey kids like I was.
Now, another important fact that we cannot avoid to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
And mental health is not only for young adults or adults, but also more and more we see little ones, 5, 6,
Yes.
7-year-old with mental health. If you're elected,
Yes.
what do you propose to solve those problems
Yes,
with mental health?
The mental health issue, I think the last 4 years have had a big impact. COVID, we've got so many things. Social media has certainly played a big influence. My daughter herself, and has been through a lot of counseling. It's been very beneficial for her, but it was a very tough time for her to go through as a 16, 17, 18-year-old to go through this time. We need to expand the folks that are available, whether that be recruiting folks in, paying more money, retaining folks that we have. It's a really tough job, and it's been very difficult, especially during these COVID years, but we have to expand the number of folks that can provide those services. We have to expand the facilities that can provide those services, and we have the financial resources to do it. And so between the county and the city, there's a struggle going back and forth, but I think at the end of the day, when you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you need to be creative, you need to be resourceful, and you need to engage in the community, to get folks involved in this. So it's the most pressing priority is just let's start with the young kids and try to get them a path to a more hopeful future. One of the things that I've learned working with Tony Robbins and the motivational, I ran a big part of his team, and he speaks to, what you focus on is what you get. And sometimes, you have to pivot and you have to change your focus. And that's what mental health professionals can help you do, is ask different questions, focus on different things, create different goals and different outcomes. So I think we do need to continue to educate folks and promote the health, that it's a good, positive thing to do for all of us. Everyone can benefit from a coach.
Bob, ha sido un placer tenerte aquí con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias por toda esta importante información. ¿Hay algo más que te gustaría agregar para esta conversación?
I just really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm super excited and optimistic about what we have as an opportunity as a city looking forward. I think this new form of government, and I think having broader representation is a great opportunity. But I do think we need to diversify the skill sets, the backgrounds, and the perspectives of folks that are representing the city at this particular time. And I think we need to come together and really, kind of try to solve these problems and move things forward together. So we're come November, it's going to be a big time to vote. National election, local election, a lot is at stake. So get out and vote and make your voice heard.
If people want to know more about your campaign or about you, where can they find you?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, please go to Vote Bob PDX, votebobpdx.com, and we do have a translator on the website, so it's in all languages, and we have marketing materials as well that are available so that folks can learn more about the new voting system as well as the election, and I'm always available to sit down and have a cup of coffee or hear more from the folks the voters in the community.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Gracias por acompañarnos a esta interesante conversación con Bob Simril. Esperamos que hayan conocido mejor sus ideas y su visión para Portland. Recuerden que su voz cuenta, así que no olviden votar en las próximas elecciones.